Alright, should be recording and such. There I am. Alright, some comments first, then off to Piro, I guess. Gibberish. It's just so full of crap. So obviously provable crap. Anyway, so this was the Jim McGinn guy, or whatever his name is, right there, James McGinn. And on climate change, and so he typed 10 comments on one video, so of course I deleted all that crap. I think it's just obnoxious. Watch the video and then comment. You don't comment as you're watching, just absolute nonsense. Childish behavior, frankly. So he says, what experiments? So he claims there's no experiments demonstrating CO2 to be a greenhouse gas, that is, demonstrating that it allows the transmission of visible and ultraviolet light, and it tends to block the transmission of infrared or lower frequency radiation. That's the definition of a greenhouse gas. Is that not that the gas itself traps anything. When you put a piece of plastic over a greenhouse, you don't have the assumption that the plastic is getting hotter or is absorbing energy or is doing any of that crap. Clearly you understand that the plastic layer is creating a transmission layer, that somehow the energy on one side gets through the plastic but it doesn't get back out again. It like a roach motel. Roach goes in but the roach don't come back out again. Not that complicated. It's essentially a type of filter. This idiot obliges us to believe otherwise, that somehow we believe the greenhouse plastic gets hot and the hot plastic heats the greenhouse. No, it's not how it works. Anyway, the fact that there is no drama in the experimental evidence of CO2, I don't even know what that means, there's no drama. You're creating drama, apparently. You and flat earthers and other lunatics, frankly. Okay. You have fallen for the propaganda. No, I didn't fall for any propaganda. I understand how greenhouses work, and I understand that CO2 has been directly implicated as being capable of producing this process, of being like a layer of plastic and allowing radiation, high frequency radiation, to transmit more easily than infrared radiation. So when the high radiation goes through the CO2 and hits the surface of the Earth, it's converted into low frequency radiation, heat, and the heat doesn't get through the CO2 as easily. So it clearly becomes a reflective agent. It reflects the heat back to the surface more than it allows it to escape to space, and therefore creates a net imbalance in forcing reflections of the heat. And that other substances do exactly the same, that most gases are greenhouse gases, it's just that some are more effective at doing it than others. That's not propaganda, that's just facts, shithead. Alright, the phrase greenhouse gas is blatant propaganda. No, it's clearly rational, and we're clearly living in an atmosphere that's creating the effect. What's your explanation for why let's say the atmosphere does hold, say, 60 degrees Celsius worth of extra energy on the surface of the Earth? Where does that come from, idiot? Oh, God. There is no such thing as a gas that traps heat. Well, again, you're lying about what the definition of a greenhouse gas is. No one's arguing that the plastic of the greenhouse is trapping heat in the plastic. They're arguing that the plastic is creating a filtering layer. Alright, you are just repeating the propaganda. No, you're distorting, okay, the reality. You're forcing people to accept your definition of words that's just complete nonsense. It's not what they're saying. You're trying to put words in their mouth they didn't say. So, you're just clearly, it's a form of lying. You have no real understanding of any of it. No, I think you're the one who's quite ignorant, and you're displaying your ignorance by forcing people to say things they didn't say. Nobody does. Oh, so you think nobody understands except you. Oh, okay. And who's supposed to take that too seriously? Oh, I guess nobody. It's just rhetoric, the whole thing. Well, that's just words. The whole thing was just silly words. Not a single piece of evidence indicating why I should just believe that CO2 transmits ultraviolet light better than it transmits infrared radiation. You haven't demonstrated that anywhere. You are pretending CO2 does have a consequence. Yeah, and it's sort of indicated by all kinds of different kinds of experiments they've done. I thought the one that was rather compelling is the fact that if you measure the radiation bouncing off the upper atmosphere, it has the signature of the stuff it's bouncing off of. Okay, so you can tell what kind of element it hit. And yeah, the answer is that you get a disproportional amount of energy that has the signature of CO2. And then when you do it from outer space and do the same thing, like what is the atmosphere emitting in terms of infrared radiation, oh, you find out exactly the opposite, that CO2 is underrepresented. It's kind of evidence, I think. So where was it? You can't explain anything, so you are in no position to call other people names like denier. Well, I didn't know it was a name. You're not happy with the term denier. You deny. You're called their stuff propaganda. I guess that's a denier. If somebody called me a conventional physics denier, I'd be perfectly happy with that label. I deny that their lies are the truth, that they did the experiments they claim they did, or they predicted anything, that the whole thing is based on lies, preposterous lies, that they have a big pile of evidence indicating this is a truth when they have no evidence, essentially, no hard evidence. The evidence for CO2 being a greenhouse gas, I'm just saying, seems pretty solid evidence. You're not making a counter-argument of any kind except to call names. All right, that's what carbon does. Is that your argument? Yes, it's my argument that CO2, like the other transparent gases, transmits radiation, and that it just happens that it transmits some frequencies better than other frequencies, like every other substance on Earth, like regular glass, like crystal, like mica, for example, I brought up. Yeah, some of them transmit some radiation very well, and they don't transmit other radiation well at all. So if the radiation goes through something and hits the surface and changes, and then it's reflected back, yeah, it won't absorb it like it did the first time. It won't transmit it. It'll reflect it, and that's called the greenhouse, shithead. All right, it takes in UV and gives you back infrared. Yes, question mark. Yes, that's exactly how a greenhouse works, retard. Really? Question mark. Yeah, exactly. Exactly how it works. The radiation goes through the clear, the semi-trans. Look, I have a greenhouse. It's not transparent. It's an opaque, white stuff. Okay, but it clearly works as a greenhouse because it's letting the ultraviolet light in, and the ultraviolet light is hitting the surfaces of the plant, creating infrared radiation heat back, and the heat doesn't transmit through the layer. It's a greenhouse, shithead. Nonsense. No, it's actually perfectly rational sense. Actually, it takes in IR and gives back IR. Well, yeah, it does that too. Everything does. But that doesn't mean that's not the part that's creating the greenhouse effect. The part that's creating the greenhouse effect is the visible light and the ultraviolet light that's going through the transparent gas, and is being transmitted in a bigger proportion. Okay, then the same energy coming back at the lower frequency gets reflected. So more of it reflects, you idiot. It's not that complicated, dumbass. And it does so to a fraction of what water does. Well, as I stated before, water is a greenhouse substance. Okay, and it might be the number one on Earth. I think on Venus, water is number 2, but who knows? I can't say for sure. But clearly, water vapor is a greenhouse gas, and the more warming you have, and the more water vapor you put in the atmosphere, the more greenhouse effect you will have, shithead. And there is 80 times more water in the atmosphere than there is CO2. And again, this has nothing to do with how much. Just as I pointed out, I mean, you just ignore arguments, but you can put a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of dye in water and ruin its transparency. I mean, just a tiny pollution. And so clearly this doesn't have anything to do with silly volume numbers. I can have a very, very thin layer of plastic around a greenhouse. Now, maybe it wouldn't be very durable, but I could have an insanely, I could have saran wrap and make my greenhouse out of saran wrap, you idiot. This isn't about density. It's about what it does as a practical effect. You are just making this up. No, you're the one obviously making up crap. You just made up some crap that somehow, because infrared radiation hits carbon dioxide molecules, that somehow this is about infrared radiation coming from the external universe. No, this is about the ultraviolet and the visible light, and that's the one that's the difference. That's where there's an imbalance, shithead. Okay. LOL. Just LOL to start a fucking goddamn comment. It's just such juvenile behavior. Fill a vial of CO2. Shoot light through it. We know what happens. Its temperature goes up dramatically. So again, I'm not going to argue that. Now, some people make arguments that somehow because the CO2 changes temperature, that this is about what CO2 does. Well, again, I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing this is about layers. This is about how things go through one way and then what comes back is different. And when it's different, it behaves differently to different things. And that's the nature of how a greenhouse works. I really couldn't care less whether the plastic gets hot. I don't care whether the glass on a greenhouse gets hot. It really doesn't have that much to do with the subject, shithead. Indicating that it is shedding, not conserving energy. The fact that its temperature goes up has nothing to do with the fact that, yes, it might have a tiny storage capacity, but that tiny storage capacity isn't going to change the fact that the ultraviolet light is going through it more readily than the converted energy in infrared can get back through it. So once you change the circles into triangles, the circles go through easy, the triangles don't. I don't know how to metaphor this for you, but you don't seem to understand the fundamental principle. That's what happens. So your assertion is meaningless. No, your assertion is meaningless. This isn't about how hot the CO2 molecules get. Okay, this is about how they transmit energy and what form of energy they transmit better than other forms of energy, and what happens when energy hits the surface of the earth. What happens to ultraviolet light when it hits the surface of the earth? Do you understand that it is substantially converted into infrared radiation? That there's a substantial reduction in the frequency of the energy that's reflected off the surface of the earth, you dumb ass? Alright, you have a unique understanding of what a G-house gas is. It's not unique, it's the perfectly rational understanding that the greenhouse is about what the layer causes inside the greenhouse, not what the layer is doing. Nobody but you says it has to do with reflection. No, I'm sorry, that's about as... I learned that in the 6th grade, shithead, in a class called Earth Science. I mean, you're just too fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, my 6th grade teacher seemed to understand the concept. You are just making this up as you go. Well, I'm afraid I'm not making it up. Seems like you're the one just desperate to believe in some kind of silly bullshit, and you're just making up stories to believe it. And you're forcing other people to believe nonsense. To think that a greenhouse gas has something to do with how hot the gas gets, which is ludicrous. Nothing explains itself, dude. Well, greenhouses sort of overtly are right in your face kind of experiment. You walk in, you say, holy shit, it's hot as hell in here. It's kind of just, you don't need much scientific knowledge to understand, oh, somehow this stuff is taking more energy in than it's giving back. You know that. Don't lie. LOL. Well, it seems to me you're the desperate one here. Again, where did I lie about anything? You fucking cunt. You have no right to call me a liar because I don't fall for your nonsense. So CO2 is in second place to water. Yeah, whatever it is, it's water, CO2, they're right next to each other. Methane running third, something like that. Do you really care about what order they're in? Is that that's why it's so important to you? Oh, amazing. How far in second place? I don't know. I don't need to sit there and stick my nose all the way in the anus of greenhouse gassery, okay? It's just not that important to my life. I know of the concept. I understand conceptually what's happening. I don't need to know anymore. I mean, gases do this. Every transparent thing on Earth, that is everything that transmits energy, okay, does so with different efficiencies for different frequencies. It's just a fact. Nothing transmits every frequency the same, you shithead. So in a sense, everything is going to create some greenhouse effect. Every single substance on Earth will have some greenhouse effect, in that it will not transmit all frequencies exactly alike. Stupid fuck. And it just happens that CO2 is very efficient at doing it. You don't understand any of it. You clearly don't. You are just pretending to understand because it fits with your political ideology. So again, how does it fit with my political ideology? I'm perfectly comfortable with it. I would say if the greenhouse effect works, which I say it does, let's make more of it. Okay, I'm all for it. I'm all for warming the planet. I just think it'll make it hugely productive. Yes, all the assholes living 5 miles from the ocean will have to move, but they shouldn't have lived there in the first place, the dumbasses. And everybody living in lowland, floodplains. Yeah, nobody should have built houses in floodplains in the first place. That should have been against the law to build a fucking house in a floodplain. So how exactly does my political ideology have anything to do with this subject, you stupid liar? So the percentage of CO2 doesn't matter. What did I say? It doesn't matter. The more of it, the worse it gets. Yeah, quite obviously. What did I say? It doesn't matter. More CO2 means you're replacing some gas that is less greenhouse. So it's like replacing clear plastic with black plastic. Now, the black plastic will still work as a greenhouse shield. It still does the same thing in the sense that the ultraviolet light goes in. It actually emits infrared radiation, and the infrared radiation will get trapped on the inside. So again, what's your argument again? Yeah, you have to have a closure to trap stuff. You can't even understand that part. And that once it's inside, if it keeps reflecting, it'll just keep reflecting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, if it's free on the outside, then it reflects once and it's gone, and you never see it again. All right, because there's no other surface to keep reflecting it back and forth, you dumbass. Oh, God, you're fucking stupid. LOL, so I am a denier of what you won't think about. Well, I have thought about it in 6th grade. Yeah, and then, like I said, it's the logic is so apparent. It's kind of just obvious how the greenhouse works, right? And what I know about transparent molecules and how they transmit light, it makes perfectly good sense that gas molecules would do exactly the same thing, stupid fuck. Yes, am I denying it works as a greenhouse? Well, you're an idiot. It's total nonsense, except that it fits the evidence perfectly. So besides it fitting the evidence perfectly, oh yes, that's total nonsense. You're just making this up. No, the facts are pointing right at it, glaringly, substantially, by a preponderance of the evidence. They're pointing to this perfectly rational deduction that just like other transmission mediums, gases in the atmosphere transmit energy in disproportional ways. Wow. So, fuck you, idiot. Oh, God, people are so fucking stupid. So let's see what other crap is in the comment crap, and then we'll move on to the Piro crap. Let's see. I'd love to see this guy actually give evidence for Tesla not being that great of a man. Well, there's lots of reasons to say he wasn't a great man. Just in terms of style points, he seemed quite obsessed with bullshit that couldn't possibly matter, like, having a well-pressed suit. And clearly just pissed away millions of dollars on absolute nonsense. That's why I'm here, Jesus. Um, I don't know, was that a prayer or something? Can he say anything other than insults? I didn't say just insults, idiot. I pointed out that overall Tesla's contribution to science was minor, and Tesla just talked up Tesla, and the only thing he did was show science, right? I mean, he got popular because he played with electricity and put on electrical shows. What value to mankind did those stupid shows have? There was absolutely no value in them. They didn't. They had no. They didn't do anything. Okay, they're unaccomplished science, useless crap. So if you think that's all it should be is show science, then yeah, I think you're an idiot. Let's see. If more people actually paid, yeah, this comment was edited because he actually said something like, "Where's the evidence that Tesla wasn't a great man?" Oh, okay. I'd love to see this guy actually give evidence for Tesla. Okay. Again, I'm supposed to prove how Tesla was a failure, and it's not your obligation to prove his success. I mean, the point is he was paid millions of dollars to do something simple, the telegraph. And instead of doing what he was paid to do, which was just send signals to another place, he kept trying to light bulbs in France. He kept trying to do something that was impossible, and he was stupid to think it was possible. So instead of doing what he should have done, what he was paid to do, he let Marconi do it instead. And then he whined about it later and got the patent switched years and years later, when clearly he failed to accomplish the task. I mean, clearly he has no right to the patent because he didn't do what he said he could do, and he didn't do what he's paid to do. Why should somebody get royalties or rights to the invention of something when the fact is he didn't do it? He didn't accomplish the task. Fuck. And then his look, I pointed out how, yes, he made a really nice motor, okay? The three-phase motor idea was brilliant. It's not a very useful motor in the sense that it's great for, when you got to move volatile fuels or you got to pump something. It's great for that kind of stuff, but it's not a high-torque motor. It's not all these things. It's not very efficient energy-wise, so it's got a lot of downsides. All right, but yeah, nice innovation. But compared to all the other scientists of his day throughout the Industrial Revolution, all the inventing being done, from the Wright brothers to Edison's, talking machine to movies to all this stuff being innovated, Tesla's contribution is minuscule. You shouldn't even know his name. His contribution was so fucking tiny. Anyway, if more people actually paid attention to QM, it would hold a security. I don't know what that'd be. It wouldn't hold to scrutiny. Okay. It wouldn't hold, I guess he's saying, to scrutiny, because to me it's nothing but magic. Well, it clearly, they claim they have some sort of mechanism, they have some sort of logic, but yes, when you start just scraping a little bit of this veneer off, it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't say anything at all. They can't even define what the fuck it means. I mean, the whole wave function stuff all falls apart. The idea of collapsing a wave function doesn't mean anything when you're doing the radar experiment or the interferometer. Where's the collapsing wave function? Where's the wave function even get created? The whole thing, there's no consistency in the theory at all. It's a pile of crap. All right. So not too much in the new comment section, so good. Moving on. Puro video should be here, I think. Okay, and we'll go to 23. I don't know, 25. That sounds better. Alright, listen to 4 minutes of this shit or something like that anyway. Somewhere around in... Well, we'll get a little extra just in case. Alright, so... He's just such an ignorant liar. I mean, it's like the worst kind of shyster lawyer. Like the TV lawyers, the OJ kind of lawyers. Pretending, he's like talking to the jury saying, well, I showed you the knife with the fingerprints on it, right? You all saw that, right? I mean, that's just it was never entered as evidence. There's no knife with fingerprints. I mean, here he is trying to convict, and he has no evidence. He's just faking it. Completely fake evidence. I mean, literally, like the footprints in the sidewalk. He's trying to sneak in non-existent evidence. Look, well, there's other footprints on the sidewalk. Oh, yeah, so what? They're in the cement. So what is that? So what? Big deal. That just means they're even cooler footprints, right? Because they're actually in the cement. It was somebody really heavy, and he actually dented the cement. Really heavy people, like giants. Like Goliath was a nasty guy, right? Everybody knows that. Goliath was big, heavy, squished right into the cement. So Goliath cut her head off. I mean, he's a shyster, a fucking lying shyster. He's so fucking dishonest. I mean, this doesn't take any time at all to go out and research and say, here's your evidence. I didn't have any problem finding it at all. Here's your link to where we were able to tell what slit a single electron went through with our special electron detector. I mean, it's just so overtly a lie, right? This experiment couldn't have possibly taken place because there's no way to do it. There's no way to detect an electron, a single electron going by. You can't detect it with anything without hitting it, okay? Without knocking it off its course. There's no way to detect it. This is just such garbage. Even theoretically, he has to know it can't possibly be such an experiment because there's no possible way to do this. And clearly you can't detect a photon, for fuck's sake.
At this point in this video, maybe you have sympathy with that. And I just wanted to use this moment to say that if you don't think the two-slit was done, it's not a matter of assumption.
Okay, you don't think the two-slit was done, right? That nobody said that, right? Holiday didn't say that. I certainly didn't say that. How can you just make such a fucking lie out of this? There's an explicit point being made. What wasn't done is any fucking witch fucking slit experiment. Never took place. They never had a detector. They never attempted detection. And they certainly never unplugged the detector. I mean, that's what they're saying, okay, liar Piro. They're saying it overtly in their tuxedos at the Royal Institute, and they're telling you that some dopey experiment that never took place is part of the historical record, part of their evidence for this wave phenomenon that's so mysterious. And it's a complete fucking lie. And even if you could do the experiment, even if I could create a fucking electron disturber, every logical person on Earth would be able to deduce it wouldn't make the photons go straighter, right? If I was trying to detect photons by hitting them with photons, right? And let's just say I could do that, and it actually worked, like the photon would reflect. Well, you know that it's not going to make the photon go straighter. If anything, it's going to make the photon go even more erratically, because you're hitting it with more chaos noise energy, more energy off the straight line, not on the straight line. So clearly, if you turn the detector off, the pattern wouldn't go straight line again, okay? Because clearly the thing making, if you put the detector on, you wouldn't get a straight line, because the detecting process is going to create more energy that's going to deflect the beam even more. So theoretically, this is fucking nonsense. Again, a sixth grader could understand this logic. I could draw him the picture of it, and I could say, look, you understand, right? If I try to detect something moving this way by hitting it, okay, that certainly I'm going to have a tendency to knock it off course in these directions, right? It's going to be moved in some erratic direction. It's not going to make it go straighter. Any idiot could know that.
This can be checked.
Yeah, this can be checked. Exactly. It's been checked. Holiday looked. He couldn't find it. I certainly couldn't find it. Okay, this fake experiment, because they can't, like I said, theoretically, there's no theory for it. If there's no theory for it, how can it possibly take place when there's no even theoretical possibility? There's no way to detect a single electron moving. You can't do it without disturbing it. There's no mechanism, shit, for brain.
Scientific stuff is peer-reviewed and published.
Okay, so again, it's peer review. There's no peer review for the Royal Institute. So every one of these talking heads who keeps lying, and you, where's the peer review for your lies in your videos? Where you lie about what the experiment is and then you present fake evidence. Where's the peer review? You just get to say it. There's no peer review. Where's the There's no peer review papers on any of these subjects. He thinks there's some sort of peer review paper on, let's say, gravitational lensing, where they showed how the math works perfectly for this image to be gravitational lensing. There's no peer review papers on any of those images. Well, that's just a fucking lie.
You can check. It has been done.
There, he said it. He said overtly. You can check. It has been done. So we overtly tell you for 5 years, I've checked. It hasn't been done. The experiment doesn't exist. The technology doesn't exist. So again, it's just a big fucking lie. And he just asserts it again. So after all these years, he just keeps asserting the same fucking lie. And you sit there and say, you're a fucking liar, right to his fucking face. And he just keeps lying the same fucking lie over and over again. You beg and plead, why don't you provide me the link then, fuckhead? If this is such a well-established truth, why don't you show me, give me the link to this fucking goddamn experiment where it took place and where they unplugged a detector. Show me the fucking experiment, you fucking liar.
If you think that it hasn't been done,
Yeah, that's right. I think there's no evidence that it could be done, and certainly because it can't be done, I think it wasn't done, and there's certainly no evidence that it was done. So yes, there's no evidence, and there's no theoretical function that you could possibly make the evidence out of. There's no way to fucking theoretically do it. So how the fuck could something you can't even theoretically do, how could it even be done? It would be silly for me to have any expectation that there would be any possibility. And so there should be no surprise. There's no evidence that the experiment ever took place because there couldn't take place. And again, a sixth grader can understand conceptually why there's no evidence. Is because it can't happen.
You're the flat earther.
Okay, so there you go. He's calling other people flat earthers when he has zero evidence, years of people begging him for his evidence. He won't produce any evidence. He'll just keep asserting we have the most proven theory in the history of mankind with a big pile of evidence supporting it. And he has no fucking evidence.
You would have to say that the people that say it's been done are lying.
Yeah, exactly what I've been saying. That's right. What else is it? It can't be anything else because what? They're all too stupid to research the subject? It's the foundational experiment for quantum mechanics. Feynman says so. All the greats of physics say this is the experiment that we saw the light. When Young showed up and showed us Newton's rings, okay, when Young... what do you call that when you steal somebody else's plagiarized Newton? Oh, that we saw the light and the light was good. The wavy light. What a crock of shit. And it took 100 years after Young for them to bake up this quantum mechanic crapola duality bullshit fucking Copenhagen wishy-washy mushy phantasmagorical horse shit of a theory. But he's calling us flat earthers because, oh yeah, we didn't fall for your non-existent evidence. And again, Hoffman has fallen for it in the sense that he keeps making excuses for it. It's okay for physicists to overtly not tell the truth. It's okay if they fuck up the history entirely. And it's certainly okay if they sit there and say the evidence is really strong when it's fucking weak because Hoffman can't tell the fucking difference anyway. He's a fucking stone-cold, brain-dead, fat piece of crap.
People that checked that it actually had been done.
Okay, people who have checked. Where are those people? Can you give me their email address, the people who have checked? Can you give me these authorities who have actually done some sort of physics where they actually fact-checked these compulsive liars of physics?
Lying. That would make you the flat earther.
So again, Clearly, he has no evidence. He's standing on a complete pile of wrong, and he just keeps doing it belligerently. Now, what do you call that? When somebody is so belligerently a liar, again, he could check this very easily. In 5 years, he certainly could have checked to say, well, maybe I ought to see where this evidence is so I could show it to them. Maybe I should got them. Maybe I should show a gotcha video. Oh, right, that's right. I can't do a gotcha video because every time I try to gotcha somebody, I do it with fake evidence. So yeah, they'll get me instead. So that's why he can't make a video, is because he'll know he has to use fake evidence. He can't use anything real that has any substance, because I'm the one who's playing the videos that are real. I'm the one going back to the 1960s videos where they actually did experiments, when they weren't compulsive liars.
So here's the brutal honesty about that, is that...
Yeah, what brutal honesty? You're a fucking liar, a disgusting, belligerent liar, a shyster. Just like the shyster, you're a shyster. You're a fucking conniving, lying, propagandizing piece of shit.
All of this stuff, you and Gary pointing at me as a phantasmagorical...
As a fucking liar. And I bet Holliday's fucking little makeup with Piero will last about 2 weeks. Because as soon as Piero starts making up some more lying stories about paramecium experiments, we already went through all this crap. All right, and it's just a proven fact that paramecium has less intelligence than a knee jerk. Okay, you could cut my legs off and hit them with a hammer, and they'll have more intelligence and consciousness than a fucking paramecium. And this lying piece of stone cold, stupid, brain dead piece of phantasmagorical baby talk bullshit, this little fucking pink dress physics and biology, where he wants to gooify everything into some sort of living thing that matters. Oh, it has a welfare state. Oh, it's thirsty. Blah, 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 blah. Pile of shit bullshit. There's no fucking scientific basis for any of this crap. It's just fucking religion.
And then pissing all over scientists, and in Gary's case, and maybe yours, but definitely in Gary's case, saying things that, in order to be true, the scientists are in a big sham.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but that's apparently what your whole physics is. Again, your physics is, on its face, stupid and retarded, okay? Your theories are silly. Space is bent. Well, no, that doesn't mean space is bent. The geometry is bent. Well, in 3 dimensions, it really doesn't mean that it's bent. It means that it's a huge vacuum cleaner. It just keeps sucking everything. And, yeah, there's no exhaust, though. We don't pay any attention to that whole conservation of energy bullshit. Fuck that. So your gravity theory is nonsense. Your relativity theory is not. Everything's in its own little frame. If it's whatever I'm doing and my friends are doing, and then we can draw a little frame around us, and then we can be in somebody else's sandbox, and that sandbox can be moving 1,000 miles an hour that way. And then we can be in somebody else's sandbox inside of that sandbox into somebody else's sandbox, and that sandbox can be going 10 bazillion miles this way. And yes, eventually we can be going 5 times the speed of light. Who cares? Ha ha ha. We can break the rules with our little fucking faggoty frames. Yeah, everything about your fucking physics is crap. And then your quantum mechanics. Oh yeah, well it's a wave function. And the wave function gets collapsed by hitting a target and blah 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 blah. But oh well, yeah, also photons can just hit each other in midair for no reason whatsoever. Sometimes they just hit each other. And then interferometers, well, no, it's a single photon, double photon. Well, maybe they're sister photons or sister and brother photons. And, maybe some of them go down the other road and some go, well, I don't really know, blah, 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 blah. Beam splitter, blah, 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 blah. You're just so full of shit. The whole theory is a pile of crap.
They've been lying about measurements and everything else.
Yeah, they've been lying about the history. That's right. But they lie about the experiment that never took place. And they wear a tuxedo at the Royal Institute, places where Rutherford and all these other people demonstrated real physics. They go on that stage and then they lie about experiments that never took place. They lie about unplugging detectors that never were detecting. Yeah, that's really disgusting. And instead of you pointing out how holy fucking shit, that's really bad physics, lying is not a great idea. Scientists shouldn't lie about the history. They shouldn't lie about the experiments that took place. They shouldn't pretend the Young experiment was at all remarkable. And you still haven't explained why sometimes the little things are round and sometimes they're little rectangles. Yeah, you haven't explained any of it, you stupid cunt.
What they've done?
Well, clearly it's an overt, grotesque pile of crap lie. That's right. It's a made-up story that they just keep telling. It's a fairy story. And you think they should tell fairy stories. So a biologist should make up stories about Sasquatch. Well, Sasquatch really did exist. And he's kind of like he was a brother to Cro-Magnon man and Homo sapien sapien. And he was like just like a half-brother of both of those. And so, yes, there are Sasquatches. We found the skeletons. Well, we really didn't do that. I imagined finding them. Isn't that just as good? I imagined finding the skeletons. Isn't that the same thing? Yeah, we should have biologists that do that. Just fucking lie.
That's the more flat earthy thing.
Right, it's flat earth to call you on your preposterous lies. Again, the whole reason why flat earthers can exist is because of this huge lack of credibility. The fact that your physics is so thinly fucking evidence that you make all these bold claims about what the truth is based on non-existent evidence or thin evidence. You're the one that opens the fucking door to those criticisms because you're so incredible. You're such fucking scummy, shitty scientists. You have no ethics as scientists. You have no discipline as scientists. You're just storytellers, little lying religious kooks trying to force the physics to fit your stupid, silly delusions.
But unlike you, I would talk to flat earthers.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Let's see you talk to one. Go ahead. Let me see you do that. Yeah, let me see you lie to them. Yeah, because you probably will.
Well, maybe that's why I'm talking to you. You don't know. Talking to me is no guarantee that you weren't a flat earther.
Yeah, whatever. You're not a flat earther. You're more despicable. Well, flat earthers are pretty despicable, I have to concede. But you're just as big a liar, just as big a denier of the facts. The facts aren't on your side. The force is not with you, so to speak, because you don't understand it at all. It's a push universe, and you're sitting there still just making up your silly pull stories. Fucking idiots. Alright, so enough. But what a fucking belligerent liar. I mean, it's just so fucking impossible. 5 years this subject's been played with. And this fucking asshole is still asserting experiments that never took place. I mean, how can he keep doing that? With somebody else, somebody should be throwing rocks by now. I mean, this is just disgusting that he can get away with just keeps lying about the evidence. So, I probably will do another response video to the inanely insane philosophy of the Hoffliday, where, I mean, it actually titles the video. I mean, it's just by title alone, you're saying nobody can be this stupid. No logic in preventing harm to self. So he doesn't think that we actually recognize that something was unpleasant, recognize what causes the something to happen, and prevent the something from happening to prevent us from experiencing the unpleasant. He doesn't think that process takes place, that every time we have to stick our hand into the fire and get burned. We can't figure out ahead of time that, ooh, fire can burn me. I'm going to avoid putting my hand in that because it can burn my skin off. And we don't do that logically, recognizing that I don't want to feel the pain. What a fucking idiot. Brain dead liar. Again, another guy just so desperate to fuck reality. I don't like the truth. I have to fucking change the truth so I can be a big, fat, duplicitous hypocrite. And that's it. I can evade my responsibilities on this planet. What a fucking piece of turd. Ugh. Pathetic. So anyway, in Mendham channel for those kind of conversations. I don't know if I can endure having them even there, though. I mean, the only good news is, yeah, there's only, just like flat earthers, there's only a tiny percentage of human beings this fucking dishonest. Oh no, feelings don't. What I feel doesn't. Oh, you can torture me all day long. The reason why I react to torture is because it's unpleasant. But I never do it ahead of time. I always wait till I'm being tortured before I complain about it or stop it from happening. I never prevent anything by logically understanding implications. Oh, I mean, just too fucking retarded. I just hate this planet. I hate this gussy shithole. Oh, God, these humans cannot be killed more horribly enough. They're just such despicable, lying pieces of crap. And such. Ugh.